What's up, everyone? I'm here with one of the all-time greats. Some may say the all-time great of our region. We got four-time New England champion, Matt Smith. You know, this guy is incredible. The man who built the barn. Mr. Smith, how we doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You know, I'm really excited for this one. Like I said, one of the all-time greats, one of two to have the elusive honors of, four New England titles. So, you're definitely on the Mount Rushmore of New England wrestling. I'm sure you've been told that before. So, but before, you were just dominating your way through, like everyone else, you were just some small kid stepping on the mat for the first time.
Yep.
When was that?
I started in sixth grade. My dad was like, he wrestled when he was younger. And my uncle wrestled. So he was like, oh, you should give it a try. Brought me to a couple practices. And then in that was like the summer going into sixth grade. And then in sixth grade, I signed up for wrestling and then joined from there and kind of went running. It's pretty natural at it from the get-go. So I had some success and some failures early. So, my first year wrestling, I remember I lost my first four. And that was after, being on the team for 4 weeks or so. And I had beat every single kid on the entire team. So I was going into the first meet thinking I'm going to crush it and then take some beatings and, got frustrated. And I remember being in the hallway crying. My dad was like, okay, it's one thing we can do. We can take this thing seriously, or it can just be like a sport like everyone else. He's like, but if you take it seriously, you can't say no. And he's like, so I want you to make sure you think about this. And I just immediately was like, I never want to feel like this again, right there and then. I said, let's go, start tomorrow, start today, start right now, whatever it takes. I want to do it. I hate this feeling.
Interesting. Well, I mean,
yeah.
It's kind of crazy to me to hear, sixth grade is when you started, I don't want to say late, but, you've seen better, or you've seen people start,
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you look at the old NHSCA, my senior national final, and they show Luke Smith started wrestling in third grade. Matt Smith started wrestling when he was 11. So just a huge gap of, 8 years of wrestling I didn't do that he did. So, he had more than half of what I had 14 years. I mean, he had 14 years at that point and I had, 7. So it's kind of crazy.
So, those first few years, when you were in middle school, did you feel that, kind of lack of experience come into play at some points?
Yeah, for sure. I memean, so that my first ever match was against Jake Dorfler. Funny that he ended up becoming my high school team.
Right?
So he was my first loss, and he also beat me in the state final. So I lost to him, and then didn't wrestle him for an entire year until the state final. And then he actually beat me worse in the second. Wow. So I lost by 1, then I got whooped. But then we went to middle school New England. He missed weight, so he won the New Englands at the weight class above. I won it at the weight class below. And then I went to nationals in at TOC and got 6. So I was pretty good right off the bat. Second. I won the New England's, place in the nationals, second in the state. I mean, after those 4 losses, me and my dad kind of went a little crazy for a little bit. And then it was just nonstop training. He would find anyone in any way to get me better, whether, it was bringing someone in or me and him just bleeding and beating each other up. So we did a lot of training to make up for lost time, that's for sure. But I couldn't have done it without him. You need that little extra person to kind of push you in those days where, you could sit on the couch. It's he knew how to needle me, I'm sure Mark Moses just sitting on the couch, he knew how to say those type of little comments that would, be all right, fine. Let's go. I'm going to smoke you today. And then it would turn into an all-out war. And then my stepmom would be yelling at my dad, you need to calm down. And he'd just be like, that ain't your kid. He's fine. So it'd get a little crazy because we'd be going to war up there, and It was in my attic, the first gym that we had. It got wild up there. It was like the Wild West of wrestling. You were wrestling in a room that was like 10 by 10, and you're just smashing the walls every 2 seconds. It was fun though.
That is fun. So, like you said, it came naturally, and clearly it did. Do you think, was there any other sports you did before, or like anything you did that you feel just helped you, in any way?
So I grew up, my parents went through like a decently rough divorce, so they were pretty separate. So it was hard for us to get, my mom was working like 2 jobs. So it's hard for us to get to sports. Like just even having babysitters was a challenge at times. So we didn't live close enough to the school that we could get there to and from. And my mom didn't trust us on the main roads and stuff. So we didn't play sports as a kid. I think I played soccer maybe for maybe a town thing for a minute, but we didn't do many sports as kids growing up, me and my sister. And then 6th grade was kind of my first introduction really to sports. So that was and I wanted nothing. I didn't want these team sports after I saw that. Obviously I played, football in the schoolyard, lived in a trail park. So there was a lot of kids to play sports with. So I was always kind of playing, pick up baseball, pick up football, a lot of that type of stuff, but I never played for teams. So I was always the best athlete in the trailer park or best athlete in the, at recess or whatever. So I was always doing really well. And a lot of coaches noticed that, track and stuff like that were trying to get me to join, but we just didn't have the opportunities. And once wrestling came along, it was kind of forced on my mom. So we had to make do. So my dad was we'll make it happen. And I kind of begged for it. So yeah, then once it got running, then it was the whole family was invested. My brothers wrestled, my sister was the manager, so it kind of turned into a whole family thing after I got into it. My brothers did judo, then wrestled, so they actually went to Pedro's, so we've been around for a long time, hitting all the different things and doing kind of everything.
Yeah. So it really was just kind of natural athleticism and
yep.
Time, you worked hard. After those 4 losses, you just dedicated to it. And
yeah, I think when you don't have when you didn't play a lot of sports, you didn't I didn't know what losing was in that aspect. I struggled in academics at times in my childhood, but the only thing I never felt defeat like that before, where everyone's looking at you and you're the only one losing. And I mean, when I was at Exeter in those first couple years wrestling, I was the only good kid on the team. So, everyone was looking at me and then I'm failing. It was what the heck?
Yeah.
So, one of those things. So it was fun though. I enjoyed my childhood. Wrestling was enjoyable, trying to catch everyone, chasing everyone. When you're not on top, it's fun to chase. The chase is enjoyable for me. I love that.
It's that hunt.
That kid, I'm thinking about him every time. But when you're on top, it's a little bit tougher.
Mm-hmm. You really gotta watch your back. Every second. Yeah. Can't mess up.
Yep. And there was a couple. I mean, Frank Sforza, my junior year, had me. He was behind me. All you had to do was bring me to the mat. Would have probably tied it because I definitely would have escaped. So it would have went overtime. So it was some tight ones that I could have lost. that I ended up pulling out. The last second.
Yeah, and heading into high school and such, was Timberlane always as dominant as they are now and through the 2010s?
No, before I got there, they only had 1 New England title in '96. Wow. So I got there in '99. So I had just started doing really well. My freshman year was the first year Timberlane went D1, and we actually I don't even think we won the states that year. So we weren't crazy good. We were battling back and forth. My freshman year, we either won it. I think we won we lost like divisionals and we won the all states, or one of the vice versa, and then we had a 3-way tie for first one year in the states. So even though we were winning New England titles, we were still battling in the state titles even. So it was kind of exciting. Salem had some really good lineups back then. It was
still
good.
Do today.
Good years. Yeah.
So, what was it like kind of walking into that, I guess you can say that up and coming team, as a freshman? Did you view yourself as, like this all-star recruit coming in?
No, I mean, even going into New England's my senior year, I remember driving to the tournament. I got Eric Bradley and Eric Doucette. Eric Doucette is like my idol, growing up. He's a senior captain of the team. Like, I was like the quiet kid, didn't talk to no one. Eric Bradley was a 2-time Division I All-American, so he was an animal. So you got like both those guys in the car with you. We're the only 3 that qualified by freshman year. So it's like, this is going to be fun. I'm like, hopefully I can place. Those 2 can win. We can, do well in the tournament. But, we had 3 kids place in the top 3 in the state, which is, typically for Timberlane, it's like to qualify in 11, 12. We had 3. And we got second in New England that year with a first and 2/3. So it was crazy because I was expecting those 2 to win and me to place.
Battle back, yeah.
And then I won, and then they both placed and didn't win. So it's kind of a crazy turnaround. I think from my freshman year to my sophomore year, my head grew about like 10 sizes. So I got a little arrogant for a little bit, and my head got a little big for my britches. That's for sure. I was just, kind of on cloud 9 when your idol and a foot and neck gonna be a Division I All-American and you're out beating them. It was kind of like, oh wow, this is crazy. But I'm also at 106, so I understood that, or 103.
Well, even then, it's still a battle. Still got to win to get there.
Yep. I mean, I beat a lot of good wrestlers in some of those days, and there were some good wars. I definitely earned it, but like, I definitely understand that it's a little bit easier to come in as a freshman at 106 than it is to come in. I mean, look at Konopka this year, and not to take anything away from 106, because that was a heck of a weight too. But winning at that 195, beating New England placers and All-Americans and that as a freshman, I'm dang impressed by him.
Mm-hmm. And kind of after that New England title run as a freshman, what was the off season like? Was it just all
off season was
in training for a repeat? From the second
I started in 6th grade and I had that conversation in the hallway, I have never stopped wrestling even to this point. Like, there's just no slowing down for me when it comes to wrestling. It's my life. I love it. It's what kind of got me out of where I was. Like, I was doing poorly in school, getting in fights, getting in a lot of, arguments with my parents. It would just turn me into a different person. Now, I've gone up and down a few times, struggled with, some of my issues, anger issues or whatever. But, throughout all of it, I've grown and turned into a better person because of that. So it's like wrestling is my life, and it's my wife begs for it like every day. Like, it's like I could be like in such a bad mood and just nitpick her over like the biggest nonsense sometimes. And then I have wrestling practice. I come home and I'm like a new man. I'm just like, feel good. So it's like I need it as much as like, some of these kids need me, I need them, so that's, I think, where it like works so well for us at the barn. It's like, I need to be in there just like they need it from me to get better. So I'm always learning and trying to get better. And like, I saw a kid yesterday, didn't even place in a state. He just happened to do something weird with his hips. I'm like, do that again, I'm always trying to learn whatever it is. I don't care who teaches me something or who I see do something. I'm always trying to
student.
Yeah, it makes it fun, and that's the evolution of wrestling. I remember one time I saw this move, and I brought it back to Chew, and I was like, "Yo, Chew, this move is awesome." He's like, "We've been hitting that since the '60s, this was something funny like that. Like, that's an old move, and It was just
New to
too
you.
funny because it's like it goes in like transitions, but there's just so much out there to learn, and it's fun, especially with Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, oh my God, you can Google anything,
There's just,
any move you
you
want.
can
After,
learn so much and so many tricks, and it's awesome.
Yeah, all the little mini tutorials.
Yeah, those are great.
So, you know, kind of staying on that topic, you know, how would you say New England wrestling is different today than it was in your day?
I think it's the higher end talent is deeper. Like there's more higher end talent. I think that my higher end talent could compete with their higher end talent. I think like our best and their best are, you know, pretty equal, but the depth of it is deeper. I think like in our days, there was a lot more domination, and, you know, you've seen a lot more close matches. Like even Nate, you know, having a good match in the New England finals. Like I look at him like one of the best I've ever coached. You know, and him having a close match in the New England finals to a junior just shows you like how deep we are, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's definitely something I've noticed, you know, and it seems like every year gets a little deeper, you know? There's always, you know, some years there's some kids that, you know, don't even make the podium at New England's, and then they go to NHSCA as an All-American.
Yep.
It's insane.
Yeah, that's huge. It's unbelievable what's going on. I think it's like a collective push. I think ever since COVID, I think it's like New England kind of like we went, let's go. Like when they opened the door, I think we all kind of went kind of crazy.
People were deprived.
Metro grew a ton. You know, Doughboy kind of kept doing their thing. I don't know. I mean, their numbers were always kind of crazy. My numbers grew a ton. Like more clubs are opening up everywhere. The opportunity to wrestle in the off season is way bigger than it ever was. You know, I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. So, getting back to you know, your high school career a little bit.
Yeah.
So, you never lost to New England. You had a record in the region of, what was it, like 160 or 180?
Yeah, like 165 and all. My career record was 181-6.
Gotcha. And those 6 matches that you lost, they all came at the same tournament?
Yeah, at the Beast of the East. So I never won that. My freshman year, I got the unseeded. The kid ended up as a freshman winning the PA States and Beast, so he was an absolute animal. I got him right off the bat. I didn't place as a freshman, and then I got second as a sophomore, fourth as a junior, and then second as a senior. My senior year, I could have cut down a weight class, but that would have been a really tough cut. So I went 119 against the #1 ranked in the country and lost in double overtime. He ended up winning the senior nationals at 119, and I won it at 112.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him at weigh-ins. I'm like, you didn't make weight, because he signed up at 112. He looked like bigger. I was like, yo, no way you made 12, because I was sucked out of my mind. You definitely don't look skinny.
Yeah. So, Matt, a question I have for you then, you know, is after, you know, your freshman year, you know, you drop your first match at that tournament. What's it like to experience that feeling of loss again, if you can remember?
Yeah, every loss fueled me. Those losses were the best things that ever happened to me. Like I said, my head got big. The pieces in the beginning of the year. It's like you couldn't talk to me for at least 3 weeks. You know, there was just hoods up. It's train time. It's go time. Don't ask me how I did. I don't want anyone telling me that second is great. I don't need that. I don't need, like, you know, people that, you know, place like fourth in like softball are telling me like second in the country is great, because I don't want to hear that. That's not what champions want to hear. We are first or nothing. And, you know, that's how I took it. And those kind of mentalities that my dad, you know, put in me, you know, made me, you know, train harder and always strive to be better. So it's like every time I got those losses, it honestly fueled me for an entire year till I went back to that tournament. You know, I couldn't stop thinking about it until I'd get another shot at it.
Yeah. And real quick, do you remember how many matches you had to wrestle to get back to that Conti finals match after losing your first one? Was it probably like 10 or something?
My freshman year I didn't place.
Oh, I thought you said
first round. No, I wish. I got fourth my junior year. I got second my sophomore, fourth my junior, and second my senior. I didn't place as a freshman. Yeah, so that was a big training moment because like I walked in my freshman year, I was like 5 or 6-0 before the Beast. I had beaten the returning state champ by tech fall. I had like so I was like already like the #1 rank in the state. I had beaten like the best kid in Maine. I was like, whoa, like holy crap, like
really,
I'm doing pretty well. And then I go to the Beast and I don't place, and I'm like, okay, I'm not good. Now it's like, okay, now it's like get back to the drawing board. Then I win Lowell. It's like, okay, now I'm back where I'm a little bit happy, but like still unsatisfied. I gotta catch up to those kids in the country. So it was, you know, always just keep training, keep grinding, and looking to get back to that tournament again.
And you know, as you just kept going on in high school, you know, just kept winning state titles, New England titles. Were you inducted into the New England Hall of Fame on the mat after your third title?
So if you win 3, you're inducted in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, I was going for 4, so they waited the year. So they waited till my senior year and then inducted me on the mat. I kind of didn't even know what was happening. You know, you're in focus mode. I'm in, you know, I'm like got a job and it's dominate as much as I can. So I like, you know, pin the kid and it's like they're announcing things. I'm not even really listening. They're just giving me stuff. They like kind of walked off the mat. It was like, my dad's like, oh, that's kind of cool. You're in the Hall of Fame already. It was funny because Barry, the coach, I got inducted into the Hall of Fame before him. So when he got inducted, I was like, finally, where you been? Like, because he was just, you know, such a phenomenal coach and such a great guy, but it was just awesome to, you know, see him come after me. It was too funny. But yeah, that was a cool moment. Roger Williams. I remember the match like it was yesterday. So it was fun.
You know, were there any nerves before that finals match? Like, oh God, this is for
my senior year?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I didn't really get too nervous in like senior national finals. Obviously nervous. Obviously, there's always those little butterflies, but you get used to like handling that once the whistle blows. But I didn't get too nervous in like matches that I thought I could win, you know, or I thought I deserved, because I knew I'm not the type of wrestler to ever slow down. So like I'm not gonna be like I killed this kid last time and then like beat him by like 1 or 2. Like I'm gonna get after it. If I don't pin you, I'm angry. Like there were times when I tech-balled people and I walked off the mat and like, you know, I'm kind of an angry person and maybe I'd throw my headgear or something. They're like, he tech-balled someone. Like, what is wrong with him? You know, so mass wrestling, I had to stay off that website as a kid because it was, you know, the trolls had come out and, you know, it was interesting to read what people had to say about me. But, you know, I was cool with it and I get it. And now all those people are probably sending their kid to me. So it's all good.
Exactly.
That's how I look at it. It's like, you know, the people that talk behind you have never talked. The people that talk behind your back typically are the people that, you know, have never met me or talked to me or had a conversation with me. 'Cause I'm pretty easygoing. I'm a pretty nice guy. But yeah, when you get me in the corner coaching, I might not be your best friend because I got a job to do. And it's like I'm intense and I care about this. And I care about my kids who bled, sweat, and, you know, with me. So it's like I'm going to give them everything I got just like they give me everything they got. So I mean, inside a tournament, I might not be the same person, but outside, if you have a conversation with me, you'd realize it's like I'm just like a normal person. And back then, when those people were talking about it, it's like, dude, you're talking about a kid. That's why I do a very good job of like, I try to like hold myself, like even, you know, say a Doughboy kid is kind of like a little, you know, chippy. And I try to be like, if he was on my squad, how would I feel? I'd probably like him. I like that little prick, you know? So I've found myself at starting to like those type of kids instead of like, you know, being like, oh, why is he such a dink? You know, it's like all the champions are kind of have that little bit of in them. You know,
they're all little. You need to. Be.
Yep. You got to be a little bit tapped. Like McGonigal, one of the nicest kids, but when he's on the mat, he'll try to kill you. That's for sure. Tyler Knox, another example. Like that kid has your shoulder. He's gonna take it home with him. You know, he ain't gonna give that back to you.
That's fun. It's funny you say that, because the Tyler Knox especially, you take one look at him, he looks like, a
Right?
Stanford, looks like such a nice guy.
That's the best. Like Nate, Nate's like probably gonna be pretty.
Yeah,
But Tyler walks out and they're like, "That's Tyler Knox," and it's like, "Yep, that little skinny kid right there is gonna torque you up."
Yeah, that little 130 pounder.
And I love it too because he's got no fear. Like he'll go out and wrestle with Nate and all those guys. He's like, I'm like, "You're crazy, dude." Like me, it's like I got no career. I don't care. But them, it's
Yeah,
like,
you got something to lose.
You get hurt wrestling that big guy.
Boom, done.
Yep.
So, kind of after high school, or you mentioned earlier you had, a little bit of, some rough parts of your upbringing and such. Did you ever think that sports would be a way to go to college?
I always knew, I would go to college, always kind of like in my plans, but you don't really think about it when you're too young. So I started thinking about it when I was in high school. So as a kid, I didn't really notice, but it definitely was 100% the main reason. I can explain this now because I'm okay with it, but it's like I went to college to wrestle. I didn't go to college to get a degree. I walked out of Johnson Wales with 0 degrees, nothing. Penn State, 2 years there, 2 years at JWU, a year at Northern Essex getting my grades up. I walked away with nothing. So it's I only wanted to wrestle. And then now I have my degree, but it took going back. A lot of learning experiences. And I think that's what makes me a good coach and is that I've been through a lot. I've been through ups and downs. I had to get sober, so I've had those kind of trials and tribulations to where kids can look to me with problems and know that I've been through it or I've seen it and I can help them with those problems and feel comfortable. And I build those close relationships where they know they can talk to me and and know I'm not going to judge them because I tell some stories of things I've done so that they know I've been in some pretty dark places at sometimes, and even though I look like I got everything together, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. That's why you don't judge people. It's when I told people I got sober, it was it exploded so positively, and I was sweating it out, putting it online, because I didn't know how it would go out there, and it went better than I could have ever imagined, and more people reached out to me and more people talked to me about it than I could ever imagine, which is awesome. And I was more doing it selfishly as holding myself accountable, which I never did. Always was I'm quitting drinking, but I would only tell my wife that. I didn't tell anyone else, because I didn't want anyone else to tell on me when I would cheat, But this time I wanted the world to know. If I cheat, I want everyone to know. So been through those things, so I'm able to kind of help a lot of those kids out. But yeah, the gateway to college, it was just, for me, it was just the gateway to keep wrestling, and my life was going to be what it was going to be. I never looked too far ahead, which I should have. I should have planned for, things, but it's the life I kind of live, and you learn from that. But I've always been a hard worker, so I knew if push comes to shove, just put something in front of me and I'll get after it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need to go through some stuff to be able to talk people through stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And you mentioned, you did your first 2 years at Penn State, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know. Was Penn State the same Penn State back then as they are now?
No, so we had Troy Sunderland, so we were kind of a transition into Cale Sanderson, so he kind of did a poor job, and then they hired Cale. Troy was not fit for the job. He was a great coach, but he wasn't fit to handle that many divas. Because that's the main part of it. Is you got to handle the AJ Ferraris and everything. And my college teammate went there with me, so we both went to Penn State. Bradley, the kid that I told you my freshman year that we were in the car with, he became a 2-time All-American for them. And he was the opposite of me. He had never drank, didn't party, got good grades. He had all the intangibles I didn't have. Wrestling, we were the same. Like, we were both animals. We got after it. We trained hard. We did everything hard, which was weird too, because we were opposite weights. I was 106 and he was 189. So it's pretty interesting to have two kind of animals that couldn't even train together.
Exactly. I was about to say, it's not like you guys could, practice together.
Yeah, but he was, so me coming in, he was expecting to get like an Eric Bradley, and he got a lot more than he could handle. And that, I was partying and, not getting good grades. So he had to kind of always like be checking on me. So it was one of those things, but yeah, I struggled there. And we had the #1 recruiting class in the country my freshman year. Penn State did. And out of my class, I think 2 kids stayed. 2. And there was like 8 of us that were like all very good, like 3-time PA state champion, PA runner-up here, just animals after animals, and none of us stayed because he wasn't the greatest coach. So he just couldn't, like I said, he couldn't handle the divas. He was a great coach. He just couldn't handle the personalities.
If only you had Kale, that would have.
Right? I don't know if I was ready. Kale would have probably kicked me out. Like, I was going down a tough path. What I needed was my dad. I needed, like, he was probably the only person that kind of keep me in check when it came to that stuff. Because once, like, I started drinking, it kind of, like, it sent me down that path of partying. And the crazy thing was, I was partying and still winning. So it set me down, down a bad path. I'm going, like, deep. I was ranked 7th in the country, and I drank, like, 3 days before. It was like, what? Like, just go to Midlands and place, top 5 at the Midland tournament as a freshman and beat Matt Valeni, for the first time ever. And I partied the week before. It was like crazy. It's just like, so I was just like caught up in the wrong things, got away from my family and what got me there, the wrestling, and I kind of put other things first that I shouldn't have.
I'm sorry this question is a little too personal, but do you think because you're able to win while, partying and doing what you wanted to do you think that, in your head, you're like, oh, I don't need to stop. It's not affecting me. I'm not losing.
All the time. I mean, I went to the national duels my senior year. I partied the entire time. This was in high school too. Senior year of high school. Partied the entire time. I went 11-0 and I got OW. like what? So it's kind of like, you're young, so you can like handle it a little bit and you're not doing it so crazy. And then it just, at some point, it just starts catching up to you, and then it goes the other way. And then you start getting hurt and, different things are happening. I mean, I got hurt more, at Johnson and Wales than I have in the last like 10 years. And I'm like, I'm 40 now. So it's just like, it just shows you like what it was doing to my body, then during that training. So
now, do you like it? I don't know. It's like a tough question, kinda.
Yeah, shoot it.
But like, do you think if you were able to, stay on track and stuff in high school and stuff, like, do you think you would have been, national champion?
I don't want to like say definite about anything. I mean, I've beaten multiple NCAA champs, multiple All-Americans. I've always been in the mix. Would I have been a national champ? Possibly. Would I have been an All-American? More likely than not. Would I have qualified for the NCAAs? 150 million %. So I think that I would have had a very successful career. I wish I could go back and try, but that's why I'm here doing what I do. It's like I got the barn, and now, I had 3 kids last year go Division I and go Ivy. That was pretty cool. It was cool to have like kids doing, not going down my path, going down an awesome path, having the grades. I mean, the fact that I even got into Penn State with the grades that I have, it was crazy. Like, I barely passed the clear.
So how much wrestling plays a factor there?
Yeah, huge, because it's just crazy. But it's like, I'm just happy that I can get kids to not go down that same path that I did, because I regret it. I don't like let it drain me anymore, because when I did, I mean, I would drink too much and I would just try to drown that feeling out, So now I'm able to deal with it. I'm sober, but I just know I give back, or I just know that, I learned from that, and you can get better, and it is what it is at this point. There's nothing you can do. I would love to go back and try one more time, but just can't.
Yeah, hindsight is 2020.
Yep.
Look back. Should have done this. Shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Yep.
It was kind of great what you were talking about there, just before with kind of just after college, because kind of leads into the next thing I want to talk about, coaching. When did you kind of realize that that's what you wanted to do, and stay with the sport?
Well, the barn was like so we built the barn just for me to train, and then my brothers wrestled, so then it kind of kept going. Mm-hmm. And then when I got out of college, my brother was still in high school, so I was still kind of running it, and he was training, and we kind of didn't know what it was going to be. We weren't even charging then. It was just kind of like, donations to like, pay for us to go to nationals. Like everything went back to the tournament. Hold on, my cat.
Yeah.
So donations and stuff would just go back to it. Then it just turned into my dad started charging, and then I was like, okay, well, can I make some money? He's like, all right, you run the youth class, and that'll be it. So I was kind of coaching everything, but only making money off the little kids. And then my dad kind of fully stepped back, and then I kind of took over, and it's just been kind of like that ever since. So kind of around like 2008, 2009 was when I like started fully taking over.
Gotcha. And when you say built the barn, do you mean like a literal barn that you guys built?
So the way it got its name was, there was this like barn that was built in like who knows when. It had like a 1940s truck in it. It was this old barn that this guy owned, and we live in Danville, which is like not like a farm town, but it was zoned agricultural, so it was able to have a business on the property because he had that barn and the farm. So that was like when you drive through Danville, New Hampshire, like Timberlane is not like a mecca. Like it's in the middle of like kind of nowhere-ish. Like Plastow, it's like a little up and coming, has Walmarts and stuff like that. But like you get out in the Sandown, Danville, that's the woods. So we were in the woods, and to get people to like find us kind of challenging. So like get on Colby Road in Danville, and back then we didn't have like just GPSs to like just do it for us. So you had to, MapQuest it, and to find it didn't have an address. So it was like, because it was on a different part of our property. So to like get people to understand where it was, like, yeah, we live on Red Pine, but it's the barn's on Colby Road, and just look for the big barn. So that barn was next door to our gym, and our gym was just a gym at first, but then when we knocked down the barn for parking, we ended up turning the gym into the barn. So we like built it, put like barn doors and the barn siding, and so we could kind of keep the name. And now we're in a mini mall. So
yeah. And you said it was like 2008 or 2009 that you like.
2008 was when I took over, but it kind of started. It started in my dad's attic in like 97, and then kind of like went when we were like all wrestling, and then probably the barn was built in like right around like 99, 98, like right around there. And then he actually built the barn. This is how crazy my dad is. He built the barn before he built this house.
Really?
So we were living with my stepmother's parents, and the barn was built, and we were wrestling. Then we'd have to go all the way back to Haverhill to go to their house. So my dad was so crazy. He was like, no, the barn's getting done first, then we'll build my house.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was like wrestling always came first.
Mm-hmm. So when you first took over in 2008, how many kids would you say you had? Like,
That was,
teamly?
I mean, Timberlane was good. So I had like a great base, you know?
Yeah.
So you have all those Timberlane kids coming over. So, I mean, it was like in the like 60 or 70, 80-ish range. I mean, and we're in like 200-ish range now. So, I mean, not like crazy difference, but definitely a good amount, you know, from then. But, you know, you'd see like a practice of like 20, 30 kids now. Like you see a practice of 20, 30 kids now, that would be like a very light day. So, you know, you just don't see that type of numbers anymore. But yeah, it's definitely grown. It's crazy. But yeah, 2008. But we had some good teams back then, man. Some of those Timberlane rosters were nice, and then you added in, you know, the select few of kids from the MVC that would come, and then we had some Bridgewater kids that would come down, Libby and Costas. Oh man, some of those kids, we had some lineups, that was for sure. Because there wasn't a lot of clubs to choose from. Right now, it's like you get kind of your area. You have kind of your area, and of course, like you're gonna get kids that are gonna travel past like gyms that maybe aren't enough for them. But like, you know, most kids aren't gonna do that much traveling, so you don't get as much traveling. Where back in the day, it was like kids were driving from all over because there was nowhere else to wrestle.
Yeah,
that's why we built the barn. It was like I would drive down to Lowell High to try to train. We would go over to Timberlane. We would go to Haverhill, and there just wasn't any people. It's just like not enough people training the off season, and I'm a little dude, so it's like if there isn't little guys there, I don't have like someone to train with, and I'm just wrestling with my dad. We can just do that in our house. So we just kind of got sick of traveling all the way to Lowell, and then just me and him would wrestle, and that was supposed to be his time with my sister. So, you know, it's just kind of like it just messed things up. So we got sick of it, and we were just like, all right, let's do our own thing, and if you build it, they'll come kind of thing. And we built it, and it's just when I was a kid, I mean, it was like 5 to 10 people, you know, and it was like a little mat, and then it exploded, and now we're like huge. I still have the same mat though. That's the cool thing. Because like when you lay down a wrestling mat, it doesn't get rolled up and get the creases and stuff, and people aren't just walking out from the outside all the time, you know, at wrestling tournaments. So I mean, the thing's still alive, like 20 something years.
Wow, that's a piece of history right there.
Right.
Yeah. So what would you say is the biggest milestone that the club has reached?
I think like I said, the 3 kids getting in the Ivy Leagues, I think that's the ultimate. Of course, you know, Vic Avery placing 3rd in the NCAAs, like that was amazing. You know, see someone that you coached become an All-American, that was cool. But you know, for the most part, like I think getting kids to accomplish things that they never accomplished, I think, you know, and some of them are the trials and tribulations of getting there, you know. My favorite kid to ever coach is Tyler Fitzpatrick. Why? Because he would do anything. I remember I used to have to call him on and tell him if he came to the gym, I'd kick him out because his parents were going on vacation. Like we spent $10,000 on vacation. He has to go. And he's like, I'm not missing the barn, you know. So you have a kid like that, but his goal was to become an All-American, and he lost in overtime the round before. So like, can I really say that all that time spent wasn't a success? Because it was. Yeah, we didn't accomplish our goal, but you learned things along the way. You became a different person. You got better. It's like me with the drinking. All that drinking made me a stronger, better person. Going to rehab, it's like when you go through those type of things, they make you a better person. I think that's what's so strong about wrestling. It's like when the football team loses, you can always blame the quarterback or the wide receiver that fumbled, not the like 6 times you missed the pass. You know, it's like you can always blame someone. You can't blame anyone when you wrestle. It's like you can only blame yourself. So you learn a lot about yourself in this sport, and I think that's the most important part, is learning about yourself, getting better, getting those 3 kids to go to Ivy Leagues. They're going to be set for life, you know, and then when I see them, you know, out someday, and I'm going to be proud. And that's the best part. When you see someone that was like not even a superstar, just like a kid that just got to wrestle in the barn, they maybe did some cool, and they see them outside, so excited to see you, and I'm excited to see them too. It's like those moments are what make this stuff special. It's like not the wins and the loss. Like, of course, coaching Cody Hughes in the national finals was my first ever national champ, and I won it, and I got to coach, someone to do it. That was memorable that I'll never forget. But those little things of going through those trials and tribulations with certain kids and getting the help just so many people, and I just love it. It's so much fun, and there's so much depth to it being a coach at the club. You get a lot, you handle a lot, and people think it's easy. They just think it's like coaching like the studs. It's like, you wish it was that. You wish. There's so much to it. It's like I'm not dealing with like 5 crazy parents. I'm dealing with like 50. And you gotta deal with all of them. And I love them all in different ways. Like they all. I was
gonna say, you better be careful. Some of the crazy parents might watch this.
Oh, they're definitely going to, and they know they're crazy because they know I'm crazy. That's why we all work together. It's like crazy meets crazy. It's like, I'm crazy for 7 on the mat with Nate Blanchett a couple of days ago. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you got to be a little crazy to be in this sport, and it's like I'm not slowing down until it makes me slow down.
So, who was helping you out when you first took over? Was it your brother you mentioned?
My dad was like the number 1 guy, and then Justin Holmesy was like the main coach. We've kind of had like 4 coaches that have kind of been like, those main coaches. Me and my dad were obviously, we're the Smitties. And then you had Holmesy. He coached for like quite a while in the beginning. And then Shane Tremblay took over for a while after that. Then Zach Britson, he took over for a while with that. And now I have Cam Altabelli.
Yeah. And how did you meet Cam?
Cam, he wrestled for Tim Lane. He wrestled at the barn. He was a senior for me. One of those kids like never really made the barn national teams. He actually wanted to quit as a kid, and I wouldn't let him. I was like, no, you can't quit. He's like, nah, I don't think this sport's for me. I'm like, nah, I think it is. And I was like, you're just not gonna wrestle in tournaments for a little bit. We're gonna get you in shape. We're gonna diet a little bit. And then he did, So like I've helped, you change kids' lives by doing things like that. And like, he's just such a passion for the sport and loves it, and just his like vibe, like it's just certain people you want to be around, and that's what I like about him. I like to be around him. He may not have accomplished everything in wrestling, but that's not what coaching is about. Like, being a superstar coach is obviously important, like, because you got like kids don't always trust you if you haven't done it, but having Cam by my side, I trust them in any situation. And now once the kids get to know him and they've had him in his corner, they trust him too. It's like, once you give him a chance, and once you see that he knows his stuff and he knows what to do, he's got it down. And he, like I said, he's been a great addition to us. I mean, all 4 of them were amazing coaches. I was privileged to have them. They all were great in such different ways. Holmesy was such a stickler and super intense like I am. So it was like the barn was just 2 intense maniacs, which was good. Tremblay, little goofy, great with the kids, could get like certain kids to do things that I could never, because he just had that personality that could get, kids to like, he would make kids like, be his best friend. Zach, the technician, he was unbelievable at wrestling. Obviously, he could, do anything I ever taught him and hit it probably just as good as I could teaching it to him that day. So, and then Cam right now with me, and he's just been awesome. He was a great wrestler, tough kid, and he's got that personality, like I said, that is just vibing perfectly with me, and we are taking things to a whole new level, and it's going great.
So let's say I walk into the barn for a day of practice. What's that practice gonna look like? Let's say it's a high school level, not like
first 5 minutes is a warm up. The next 40 minutes I'm teaching technique from, or drills, any type of drills, and the next 40 minutes smacking heads. We're gonna live wrestle, we're gonna beat each other up, we're gonna bleed, and then if we have time at the end, we'll do a little bit of conditioning. I don't do a ton of conditioning because that's kind of on your own. Like, if you need to go for a run, go for a run. I'm not your track coach, you know, I'm your wrestling coach. I'm here to teach you how to wrestle. I'm here to wrestle with you. You want to lift on your own time. You want to wrestle, I'm your guy for that, you know? And it's like, I mean, with lifting anyways, like I don't know a ton about like lifting. My dad was always my lifting coach. So like even now I got a group of kids I'm working with. I've been helping with lifting and I had to call my dad like, hey, how many reps should I do on this? And what should I, you know? So he'd write me up a plan, even getting it today. So I'm excited.
It's fun.
Yeah. It is.
What do you like more? Showing the kids the technique or watching them go live with the technique you just showed?
Watching them go live, I'm getting dirty. I'm in the mix. I'm bleeding right there with them. I think that's what makes the barn so special. Is like, I haven't taken, if I go to practice, I'm scrapping. Like there might be a day where I've had strep throat or COVID or something and I miss practice or, you know, we have a tournament. But if I'm in the barn, I'm scrapping. I, you know, knock on wood, been, you know, no injuries. But for 10 years now, you know, I've been grinding. And
well, like you said, you know, you're still going to your top dogs too. You know, you were just with Blanchett a couple of days ago. You said, you're not shying away.
No, he dropped me on my head, but I'm okay. Even he was like, "You all right?" I'm like, "I'm good. Gotcha. But I love getting in the mix. I want to smack heads every day. So the barn, we definitely live wrestle. I think the benefit of like our live wrestling, we don't do groups or shark bait or anything. It's kind of like open. You find different people, and it's like when Connor came into my gym, he didn't walk in as my best kid, but he left as my best kid. Why? Because he gets the opportunity to wrestle with a bunch of different people. And if I like put him in groups, maybe he wouldn't have been in the superstar group right off the bat, you know, and because I wouldn't have seen exactly that. But I obviously did know right off the bat he was going to be good. So I asked him to wrestle for me a week after meeting him. I was like, yo, you need to come wrestle with us. But either way, like a kid like that, you know, you want to give them the opportunity. You don't want a kid that's like JV at Pinkerton to not get the opportunity to wrestle a New England champ. So at the barn, you get that. And we don't say no to people. We get enough. So there's enough goes for everyone to go around. And if you didn't get them that practice, you'll get them the next one. It's like, we're very good at, you know, getting everyone a part of it. But like I said, we get dirty.
How old was McGonigal when you met him? Because he was Smitty's kid through and through, right?
I want to say like 5th grade-ish, right around then. It's kind of hard to remember all those grades when they started. Me and Nate were doing that. We're like, when did you start? He's like, I have no. It's like got to be like 2nd or 1st grade. So it's like you can't even remember at this point.
Mm-hmm. So the way you run practice now, was that always the way that, you know, you ran practice, or it took a while to find that mix?
Yeah. So at first, when we first ran the barn, when I was like more like a college kid, I was just like, we didn't drill it. Just get in the barn and live wrestle. Like you just show up. If you wanted to warm up with a drill, that was on you. But I'd walk in, slap hands, live wrestle. You know, so it was just, you know, getting in there, no drilling, just live wrestling. Once like I got out of college and I started like knowing that like what's best for everyone, not like, because I knew that was best for me, because like I was already pretty good and my dad wasn't going to teach me any techniques that like I didn't know, you know. So it was 7 years of working with him. I kind of knew everything I needed to know from that aspect. So I was not interested in drilling. So it was like, but then when I got back, I was like, okay, there's a lot of kids in the room that need these drills. So it was like, how can I get everyone better? You know, instead of just the superstars getting better, let's get everyone in the mix better. So that's where it kind of started taking that change to a different way.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, kind of the next question I have for you, but, you know, I feel like you kind of you answered it in a very good way, you know, is what makes Smitty's one of like the top clubs in New England? And, you know, you sustained this for so long. But I think what you just said is like a great answer.
Yeah.
You know, like you care about every kid. You know, it's not just the top kids you're working with. So I mean, I don't know if you want to elaborate on that a little
Yeah, I think like what makes the barn special is kind of, you know, my dad and me kind of run from the same tree. It's like we just have this like this intense like toughness about us that like kind of rubs off on people. I think when you get around me and you get this like intense, like, because I'll grit things out. Like even today in jiu-jitsu, I went to jiu-jitsu right before I got here. Me and Cam were training, and he got my back today, and it got gnarly by the end of it because we were scrambling all over the place, battling. I was pissed, and you know, I get up like, you know, all pissed off, and it's like that's what makes me me. It's like I'm 40 years old and I'm still holding myself accountable. It's like I think that's what it is. It's like I get in there, get dirty. I ain't afraid of Bajoris. I'll go out and wrestle him. He's a heavyweight. Doesn't matter. What's he gonna do? Take me down a couple of times or throw me on my back? It's like it's just wrestling. It's like I can handle it. So I go out there, scrap with him, scrap with everyone. I just love being in there. I don't care if you're a beginner to the end. I'm wrestling, and it's like I think that rubs off on people, and they like that about it. And you know that I'm willing to get in there, do something that's not that fun, because wrestling can be miserable at times. You know, the cutting weight, the drilling, it's repetitive. You know, there's a lot of parts about wrestling that can be miserable. So I think making that less miserable and showing them that I'll do it with them is huge.
So, you know, since Smitty's barn inception, you know, it seems like the club has just kind of been, you know, at least from my standpoint, you know, I don't know the inside details, but it seems like the club has just, you know, been going, you know, upwards trajectory. So where do you see the club in 10 years? You know, you changed locations once, you know, could you see the need for a bigger space in the future? You know, what are your plans? Yeah,
I could see, you know, a bigger place or on my own property someday. Something like that would be something I would love to do. But I think, you know, I do it till the wheels fall off, then I hire the next, you know, guy to come in and take over, or you know, someone to come along with Cam to keep it going. You know, either way, I'm going to be on the mats till I die. So, I mean, the barn ain't going anywhere, ain't slowing down, and it's going to just keep climbing. I hope. I mean, we've been up and downs a lot. You know, I see the wave of it. I think that we're at our biggest climb right now, where we're really like thriving. But I think that came with, you know, I got sober 2 years ago, 2 years in August. I think that was a huge part of it, whereas like I'm not checked out outside of wrestling now, whereas like before I was. You know, if I wasn't coaching or that, it was like out partying, out drinking, you know, well, not out, pretty much just at my house. You know, once that changed, my whole like personality and everything about me changed, and I just became a better person. I realized my own faults, and you know, that big head that I got, I you know, have tamed it down a lot, you know, because even when you get older, you still have that, like, and it's like now I understand things just a lot better. I think that's where I've seen like the most growth, and I attribute it to getting sober, which was huge. And I thought it would go the other way. People would be like, oh, I can't party with the coach anymore, you know, but it's been nothing but like people are like, I'll not drink with you, like I feel bad that you can't, and
stand by,
you know. So it's like, and I'm just like, yo, guys, go do what you want to do, I don't care. But I appreciate it, and I think it's like I've motivated a few people with that as well.
It's good, you know. It seems, you know, out of everything you've done, you know, it seems like that's, you know, probably your biggest accomplishment. So, you know, congratulations.
Like not even close. Like winning a national title, all the wrestling, cutting 16 pounds and you know, all the crazy stuff we've been through. Heading into rehab that first day by myself, like that was the toughest part of my life and one of the most challenging. I have amazing friends. One of my buddies, he's 7 years sober, Colin. I called him every single night, you know, for a week, 2 weeks. And he walked me through it and was there for me. And I think that's what's so awesome about our sport. We got a lot of people that are there for us, and a lot of people that, you know, you get so close when when you bleed with someone, you know. It's just like that's what I love about it.
Yeah. So, kind of like the last question I have for you
Yeah.
is, what's the upcoming schedule for the barn? What are the big events coming up?
Yeah, we got some good ones coming up, like a NHSCA is next week, so that should be a fun one. We're going to the Revolution for you guys, and then we're gonna head to Atlantic City. So those are like kind of 3 big ones that we got right now. Looking for some other ones. But duels, man, I need to find some more individual tournaments. These duels, they're the death of you. Like, I'm sure, you've seen some people deal with it. It's like kids get injured, and then you got a day to figure it out, and it's like, get a kid down there. It's like, thankfully, we got a barn camper, because that has been the life there. Just come in the camper with me. Just come in the camper. Yeah. It's like, so, yeah. So those are our 3 big ones right now that we're looking at, and we're obviously always training. I think, like, I've always been a person of, like, not hitting like a million tournaments, hit the right ones, and train for the big ones, especially these kids nowadays. Like, when I was a kid, it was like, get on the mat as much as possible, get in there. I think that's important, but I think it's important in the right atmosphere. Going to a bunch of local tournaments around here, wrestling kids that are doing the wrong things is not what you need. You need to be wrestling kids that are doing the right things. So that's the important part. Hit those bigger tournaments, train for the Super 32, get out, hit some camps and clinics as well. I think that's the way of success in my eyes.
Definitely. Well, Matt, is there anything else you'd like to talk about or touch on?
No, I appreciate you having me. It's been awesome talking to you. I mean, we had much conversation, so it's awesome to kind of like break the ice, and now we'll be seeing each other at tournaments. It'll be good to be able to chat more.
Yeah, dude, 100%. It's gonna be a good time.
Absolutely.